Today we share The Gift of the Magi, a classic story of giving from the United States by O. Henry. It happens in the early 1900s on a snowy Christmas Eve in a small New York City flat. Before we go on, let us know where you're listening from. What time is it there? In the tiny apartment, the young wife Della counted her coins. $1.87. She wished to buy a special present for her husband, Jim, but money was very scarce. The flat was tidy yet worn, with a little stove and a small tree. Della's heart felt heavy because love filled her thoughts, but her purse felt light. She wanted something fine for Jim, something as good and honest as he was, and she didn't know how to find it with so little money. Della stood by the window, watching a gray cat pace along a gray fence in the gray backyard. The world felt quiet and cold. She looked into the mirror, thinking hard. She and Jim had two treasures: Jim's fine gold watch that had belonged to his father and grandfather, and Della's long, shining brown hair. Her hair fell like a waterfall when she let it down. She loved it, but she loved Jim even more. With a brave breath, Della tucked her hair back up and put on her old brown coat and hat. She set her mind like a candle's steady flame. There had to be a way to turn love into a gift, even if coins were few. Down the stairway Della hurried and onto the busy street. Snowflakes swirled and the shop windows glittered. She climbed to a little sign that read, "Hair goods of all kinds." Inside, a cool and businesslike lady stood by a counter. Della's cheeks were pink with the cold and with courage. She asked softly if the lady would buy her hair. The lady touched the long brown waves and nodded. The price would be enough for a good gift. Della's heart fluttered, but she agreed. Sometimes love asks us to let go of something precious. Della stepped out again, lighter of head, but full of hope for the present she could now find for Jim. With coins in her pocket, Della searched store after store. She wanted something strong and simple, like Jim. At last she found it, a slim platinum chain for a pocket watch. It did not shout for attention. It quietly shone. Della knew it matched Jim's watch perfectly. She paid, keeping only a few cents, and hurried back through the cold streets with a happy glow. She imagined Jim lifting his watch on this fine chain and smiling that gentle smile of his. The sky dimmed, and the first evening lamps blinked on as she reached the stairway of the flat. Back home, Della set water to warm and lit the gas. She took out her curling iron and carefully arranged her new short hair into soft, close curls. In the mirror, she looked different, almost like a schoolboy, but her eyes still shone with kindness and courage. She wrapped the chain in neat paper with a little ribbon. She whispered a tiny prayer that Jim would still find her pretty and be glad. The small room grew cozy with the smell of coffee, and a frying pan waited on the stove for their supper. Outside, footsteps rose on the stair now and then, and the sky turned deeper blue. 7 o'clock came. Della sat near the door with the little gift hidden in her hand. She heard steady steps on the stairs. Jim was never late. Her heart beat fast. She whispered, "Please let him think I'm still pretty." The door opened. Jim stepped in, thin and serious from a hard day's work, his coat worn and his hands chilly without gloves. He stopped and stared at Della's short curls, his face very still. It wasn't anger or scolding in his eyes. It was surprise that didn't have words yet. The room felt hushed, the way snow makes a city quiet. Della rushed to him and explained in a tumble of words. She had cut and sold her hair so she could buy him a real gift. "It will grow," she promised, smiling bravely. "I just wanted Christmas to be special for you." Jim blinked, then gently gathered her into a warm hug. For a moment, the quiet of love held the room. He reached into his coat and placed a small wrapped package on the table, telling her he could never like her any less. His voice was soft and his eyes were kind. The lamp flame steadied and the little tree twinkled. Della untied the string and opened the paper. Inside lay a set of beautiful combs, tortoiseshell with tiny jewels, just the right shade for her long hair. She had admired them in a shop window many times, dreaming. Joy leaped up in her voice and then faded to a small, shaky laugh, because her hair was now short. She hugged the combs to her chest anyway, whispering, "My hair grows so fast." Jim smiled at her tenderly. The little stove ticked, and the room felt bright with both happiness and a little ache, like a song that is sweet and sad at once. Then Della remembered her own surprise. She held out the slim chain that shone like a little strand of moonlight. "It's for your watch," she said. Jim sat down on the worn couch and smiled in a puzzled, gentle way. He told her they should keep their presents for later, because he had sold his watch to buy her combs. For a heartbeat, everything was very still. Then Della's eyes filled, and she laughed softly too. Their gifts did not fit anymore, but their love did. The room seemed warmer than before, as if kindness itself were the fire. They set the gifts aside and turned to supper, smiling at each other with eyes bright as stars. The story of the Magi is mentioned in the Gospel and tells of wise men who brought gifts to the newborn Jesus. Jim and Della were wise in the same way because they gave up their best treasures to bring joy to each other. Their presents could wait, their love did not. The lesson is simple. True giving isn't about price, it's about care, courage, and kindness. And that was the story of the gift of the Magi. What did you think of the story and the lesson? Share your comments below.